Have you ever noticed that sadness feels strangely familiar, almost comfortable, even when you want to escape it? You're not alone, and there's a psychological reason for that. Hey everyone, welcome back. I'm really glad you're here today. We are going to explore a deeply personal topic that touches so many of us, yet is rarely spoken about with enough compassion. We often think of sadness as something we want to run away from, but have you ever felt like you were actually holding on to it? It sounds contradictory, but for many people, sadness can become a mental comfort zone, a place that feels safer than the unpredictable nature of happiness. But here's the part most people never realize, and it's that this attachment isn't because you love pain, but because your mind has learned to trust it more than joy. By the end of this video, you will understand why this happens and how you can gently start to let the light back in. To understand this, we have to redefine what we mean by comfort. When we talk about a comfort zone, we usually imagine something cozy, warm, and pleasant, like a soft blanket on a rainy day. However, in psychology, a comfort zone isn't necessarily about what feels good, it is simply about what feels familiar. If you have spent a long time navigating difficult emotions, or if you have gone through periods where sadness was your primary companion, your brain eventually marks that state as your baseline. It becomes the environment you know how to navigate. Think about that for a moment. It is like living in a house that is drafty and cold. You might hate the cold, but you know exactly where the floorboards creak. You know how to wrap up to stay warm, and you know what to expect when you wake up in the morning. Moving to a new, sunny house feels overwhelming because you don't know the layout yet. In this way, sadness becomes a shelter, not because it's happy, but because it is predictable. This next insight might reveal something important about you, and it revolves around the concept of predictability. Human beings have a deep, evolutionary need for certainty. We crave to know what is coming next because certainty feels like safety. Happiness, on the other hand, can feel incredibly risky. For many of us, happiness feels fleeting, fragile, or even dangerous. You might have experienced moments in your life where you felt truly joyful, only for something to go wrong shortly after. If that happens enough times, your mind starts to connect the two events. You start to believe that happiness is just a warning sign that a drop is coming. So, unconsciously, you might retreat into sadness because, in sadness, the drop has already happened. You are already on the ground, so you can't fall any further. This is why sadness feels safer, it protects you from the vulnerability of hope. But here's the surprising part that often keeps people stuck. It isn't just about fear of the future, it is about how we view ourselves. Over time, emotions can become part of our identity. If you have felt heavy-hearted for a long time, you might start to wonder who you would be without that weight. It sounds strange, but there is a quiet fear that if you let go of the sadness, you might lose a part of yourself. You might feel empty or blank. Sadness adds a layer of depth and texture to life that, while painful, can make us feel deep and complex. We see this when we listen to sad music or watch tragic movies. There is a resonance there that makes us feel understood. The danger arises when we mistake this emotional habit for our personality. We start to think, I am just a sad person, rather than, I am a person experiencing sadness. This subtle shift in language locks us into the cycle. And this is where the psychology gets fascinating. Your brain is designed to be efficient, not necessarily happy. It wants to save energy. Every time you think a thought or feel an emotion, neurons in your brain fire together. If you think sad thoughts or replay painful memories repeatedly, those neural pathways become thicker, faster, and stronger. It's like walking through a field of tall grass. The first time you walk a path, it is difficult and slow. But if you walk that same path every single day for years, it becomes a beaten dirt road that is easy to travel. Happiness, by contrast, might be a path you haven't walked in a long time. It is overgrown and difficult to navigate. So, when your brain is on autopilot, it naturally slides down the easy, well-paved road of sadness simply because it is the path of least resistance. You aren't broken because you feel this way, you are just experiencing a brain that has become very efficient at a specific emotional pattern. Most people miss this completely, but there is also a protective mechanism at play called foreboding joy. This is a term that research often points to when explaining why we sabotage our own good moments. Have you ever been having a wonderful day, laughing with friends or enjoying a quiet moment, and suddenly a dark thought intrudes? You suddenly feel like you need to check your phone for bad news, or you remind yourself of a deadline, or you bring up a painful memory. That is your mind trying to beat the universe to the punch. It is a way of emotionally bracing yourself. The logic is that if I make myself sad now, I won't be blindsided by pain later. It is a misguided attempt at self-protection. We think that if we stay in the low hum of melancholy, we are shielded from the sharp spike of disappointment. But the tragedy is that living in that constant state of low-grade sadness doesn't actually make the bad times hurt less, it only makes the good times disappear. But this next part reveals why breaking the cycle feels so difficult. We often get a strange sense of validation from our sadness. When we are sad, we feel justified in withdrawing from the world. It gives us permission to rest, to say no to things, or to ask for care, even if we only ask for it silently. If we suddenly started acting happy, we might fear that people would expect more from us. We might fear that the world will demand energy that we don't feel we have. In this scenario, sadness acts as a boundary. It tells the world, please be gentle with me. Giving that up feels like taking off a suit of armor in the middle of a battle. It feels like exposing your softest parts to a world that can be harsh. This is why the transition to a lighter state of mind is rarely about just choosing happiness. It is about cultivating the courage to handle the vulnerability that comes with being okay. If you've ever wondered why you feel strangely safe in sadness, you're not broken, you're human. It is essential to recognize that this addiction to sadness is often a response to unprocessed emotions or past experiences where we learned that hope was dangerous. Perhaps you grew up in an environment where things were chaotic, and being quiet and withdrawn was the safest way to avoid attention. Or perhaps you learned that getting your hopes up only led to crushing disappointment. These are learned survival strategies, and they served a purpose at one point in your life. They kept you safe. But now, they have become a cage. The key to unlocking the door isn't to force yourself to be happy, but to understand why you are holding the key so tightly. Think about that for a moment. What would happen if you allowed yourself to just be neutral? Many people think the opposite of sadness is ecstatic happiness, and that feels impossible to reach. So they give up and go back to sadness. But the bridge out of the comfort zone of misery isn't toxic positivity, it is neutrality. It is calm. It is the ability to sit with a feeling of okayness without trying to sabotage it. It is waking up and realizing you don't feel terrible, and instead of searching for a reason to be sad, you just let yourself exist in that quiet space. This is much harder than it sounds because that quiet space can feel boring or empty to a brain that is used to the high drama of emotional pain. But that boredom is actually peace. It is the sound of your nervous system finally relaxing. This next insight might change how you handle your bad days. We often feed our sadness because we judge it. We feel sad, and then we feel bad about feeling sad, or we panic that we will be stuck there forever. This creates a secondary layer of suffering. Paradoxically, the way to release the addiction to sadness is to stop fighting it, but also to stop feeding it. When sadness visits, treat it like a guest, not a roommate. You can acknowledge it, offer it a cup of tea, and sit with it, but you don't have to ask it to move in and redecorate your entire house. You can observe the feeling without becoming the feeling. You can say to yourself, I am noticing a feeling of heaviness right now, rather than, my life is heavy. This small distance breaks the loop. It stops the brain from reinforcing those old neural highways and allows a little bit of grass to grow back on the path of misery. And this is where the psychology gets fascinating regarding our environment. We often curate our lives to support our sadness without realizing it. We might listen to playlists that are exclusively melancholic, watch shows that are dark and cynical, or surround ourselves with people who bond over complaining. While it is important to validate our feelings, constantly consuming media that mirrors our pain keeps us stuck in the echo chamber. It reinforces the idea that the world is a sad place and that we are right to feel this way. One gentle step you can take is to introduce small microdoses of difference. You don't have to blast cheerful pop music if you hate it, but maybe try listening to something instrumental, something neutral, or something calming. It interrupts the pattern. It signals to your brain that there are other frequencies available to tune into. But here's the part most people never realize about the physical aspect of this. Emotions are not just in your head, they are in your body. Sadness has a posture. It usually involves slumping, looking down, shallow breathing, and a general inward collapse. Over years, your body learns this shape. If you try to think happy thoughts while your body is in a posture of defeat, your brain won't believe you. Sometimes, the addiction to sadness is actually stored in the body's muscle memory. To disrupt the cycle, you sometimes have to move the body first. It can be as simple as sitting up straight, taking a deep breath that expands your ribs, or looking up at the sky instead of the ground. These small physical shifts send a signal up the vagus nerve to the brain that says, "We are safe, and we are open." It doesn't cure the sadness instantly, but it creates a crack in the armor where the light can get in. Sometimes sadness becomes a shelter, not a prison, and that is why it is so hard to leave. We have to honor that shelter for what it did for us. It kept us safe when we felt we couldn't handle the world. But now, I want to invite you to consider that you are strong enough to step outside. You don't have to sprint. You don't have to run a marathon of joy. You just have to stand on the porch. You just have to build a tolerance for feeling good. This is called expanding your window of tolerance. At first, feeling good might trigger anxiety. You might feel that urge to sabotage. When that happens, just notice it. Say to yourself, "I am feeling good, and my brain is scared because this is unfamiliar." That is okay. I am safe. By reassuring yourself, you teach your nervous system that happiness is not a threat. Here's the surprising part about hope. Hope is a muscle. If you haven't used it in a while, it will feel weak. It might even hurt to use it, like stretching a tight hamstring. The addiction to sadness often comes from a place of learned helplessness, a state where we feel that no matter what we do, the outcome will be the same. To break this, we need learned optimism. This doesn't mean ignoring reality, it means acknowledging that while pain is possible, so is joy. It means acknowledging that while the past was difficult, the future is not yet written. It is about reclaiming your power to author the next chapter, even if you are writing it with a shaking hand. But this next part reveals why breaking the cycle is the most courageous thing you can do. It requires you to let go of the victim identity, which is incredibly painful to admit we might be holding on to. The victim identity says, "Things happen to me." The empowered identity says, "I respond to what happens." When we are addicted to sadness, we are often waiting for someone to come and save us, to notice our pain and fix it. But the truth, the empowering and terrifying truth, is that no one is coming to save us in the way we want. We have to save ourselves. We have to be the parent to our own inner child. We have to be the one who says, "I know you are scared to be happy, but we are going to try anyway." This shift from waiting to acting is where the real transformation begins. As we move toward the end of this reflection, I want you to know that if you recognized yourself in this video, you should be proud. Awareness is the first step. You cannot change a pattern you do not see. By simply clicking on this video and listening this far, you have already proven that a part of you is ready for something different. You have proven that a part of you knows that there is more to life than the comfort zone of misery. You are not drawn to sadness because you are weak, you are drawn to it because it is familiar. But familiarity isn't destiny. Just because you have walked the path of sadness for 10 years doesn't mean you have to walk it for 10 years and one day. With small steps and gentle awareness, you can create a new emotional home. You can build a home that is warm, where the windows are open, and where the unpredictability of life is met with curiosity rather than fear. You can teach your brain that it is safe to smile, that it is safe to relax, and that it is safe to hope. It won't happen overnight, and that is okay. Be patient with yourself. You are unlearning a lifetime of habits. But every time you choose to linger in a moment of neutrality, every time you choose not to spiral into a sad thought, you are laying a brick for that new home. Thank you so much for spending this time with me. It takes a lot of bravery to look inward like this. If this video brought you clarity or comfort, feel free to like, comment, and subscribe, as it helps our community grow and reach others who might need this message. I'd love to hear from you in the comments. What is one small way you can invite a little bit of gentleness into your life today? Remember, you are worthy of a life that feels good, not just one that feels safe. Take care of yourself, and I'll see you in the next video.